When it comes to hiring, I think my major learnings have been working with people, like hiring the right kind of people, hiring the right mix of people, building a culture in the company. How can culture really differentiate you as a company? Like, I think of culture in the company as a moat. Actually,
All right.
businesses can have, differentiation with their culture, and that I think is very powerful. If you build the right culture, the scalability of the company kind of increases. I feel the power to scale becomes immensely higher, because then you don't have to go through those churns of attrition and everything. And if you have the right culture, you hire the right people by default, and that kind of trickles down to the lowest kind of denominator in the company.
Right.
So I think that's very important.
If you have any openings, let me know. All right.
Sure.
If you have any openings, let me know.
All right, that's a good point. We do have.
I mean, we should always have hiring options open.
For sure.
In case the podcast doesn't work out, I know I'm going to work next.
Yeah, I think you should try with the podcast first. We always like to work with people who are doing their own things, like
Right.
ex-entrepreneurs and founders and people who have been in leadership positions and have tried their hands at different things, because the company's top management, or just the DNA of the company is very, I'd say, very eccentric would not be the right word.
I think
But-
I understand what you're trying to say. So you're
We're kind of
enabling
misfits,
every
man.
team.
We are a bunch of misfits.
You're enabling misfits, and more than that, you're enabling micro entrepreneurs in your team itself, right?
Right.
Everyone works
That
independently.
is the right word, actually. I think of our people as entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
and they are really trying to work towards a mission. I keep saying this, right? I love inspiring people in my organization,
Right.
but we want to work with self-motivated people. There's a huge difference.
I mean, it's extremely important to work with self-motivated people.
Yes, yes.
Because I think it's great that a company always has ups and ups, but business cycles, there are always downs and everything.
Correct.
And at that stage, you do not want folks who are like, whose entire motivation runs out of how the company is performing, and they are not able to like invest in the vision themselves, right?
Absolutely.
That's where the self-motivation matters. Right? Because if
Absolutely.
you yourself are confident about the vision, and if you see like a down, if there's like a decrease in sales, even then you'll be comfortable to know that, okay, I need to really hustle over here and really need to work hard on improving these
Yeah.
things, instead of just be like, oh man, I think this is the end of the company. I don't know
Right.
what's happening. I think the slump will continue.
Right.
I think that's where the self-motivation factor comes in.
Yeah, I think for somebody who's trying to build a company and is in the initial days, I think the first 20 to 30 odd people, full-time people in your company, are extremely important.
Right.
And I cannot emphasize more about how they can make or break it for you.
Right.
I have made mistakes in the past, and I've hired in a hurry, I've fired in a hurry, and I've done all of that. And to me, the biggest difference that we're doing right now with Rage is just being very sure that people who work with us and people who work for the product, right, for the brand, they are really on a mission. And when you're on a mission, you don't think about anything else but that mission, right?
Right.
So I think that is a big moat that we have when it comes to our competitors as well.
Right. All right, Bharat. So, what advice do you have for other aspiring Indianauts as a fellow Indianaut yourself?
So I think to all the aspiring Indianauts out there, I think the biggest advice that I have for them is to be true to who you are. Getting into entrepreneurship is a very long journey. It's a very tough, compromising at times, and also sometimes not very fruitful journey. So you should be in it for the right reasons. You should feel for the product or the service. You should be passionate about it. You should see a gap. You should really be very self-motivated to create a dent in that space. I always keep saying it, right, that entrepreneurship is not like running a business. Entrepreneurship is about building something that did not exist before, or is trying to fill a gap. Because that's where the real hustle is, right? If you want to get into the traditional industries, for example, you want to get into, let's say, if you want to start a sari shop, right? So if you want to start a women's apparel shop, you just have to put up a shop and then people would come in there, right? But if you really want to innovate in that space, you have to do things differently. You have to think of your audience in a certain way. You have to think of what's not happening already. So the biggest advice is to be true to why you are starting up in whatever category, in whatever space that you're starting out. The second is capital management. Funds management is very critical. I think people who start, or aspiring Indianauts who would want to start a business, they should really have their funds figured out. It is very important to know how long it will last you, what's your runway like,
Right.
And there should always be a plan without being able to raise external capital or debt, because it is tough to raise external capital till you've built something substantial, or you're on the right track. So it takes time to figure that out. The third is patience. Very, very critical. You have to have at least a 3-year plan. If you're serious about entrepreneurship and you're serious about building your entire life around it. So I think these would be before starting up. After starting, I think the most important thing is to be able to build high quality teams.
All right.
If you are starting out as as somebody who has a partner, it is great. If you get along with somebody, and if you think you want to start a business with a friend, just because you get along, that might or might not work out in the long run. So you have to initially think of engaging with people who have complementary skill sets, people who are passionate about the mission but bring in skills that are different to yours initially. Being able to hire high performance people and retain them over a period of time is very critical. Cannot emphasize that more. And then I think with time you learn. If all of this is figured out, if there's a product that is needed by the market, that is needed by a certain set of audience, you can think small. I don't promote think big always. Thinking big is a function of a lot of things. It's how you are progressing in your business, in your entrepreneurial journey. So if you start small, it is no problem. You can start small. You want to start a business that will last you think maybe 1 year, and if you think there is real value to be built, and that capital will last you, let's say, a certain time, so go for it. There will never be a right time to start a business, because there is no right time. You always have trade-offs, and those are very difficult decisions the longer you think of those, because data would tell you that it's very difficult for people in their 40s to start a business, because there's so much baggage that they have, versus somebody who's starting out at 25. And experience really counts. So if you have experience in a certain sector, certain industry, you have networks and relationships in those industry, it does help. But you should get in it for the right reasons.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. The Indianaut Podcast is available on YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Apple Music. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook to receive all updates on the upcoming episodes. We'll see you in the next one.